You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.
Welcome to the Social Workers Radio Talk Show. I'm your co-host, Alyssa Lotmore, and today we have a few guests with us today to talk about the Internships in Aging project, which is part of the University at Albany's School of Social Welfare. We have Linda Mertz, who is a social worker who worked with older adults and their families for 15 years before coming to UAlbany to be the project coordinator for the Internships in Aging project. Now we have some students. Meredith Goldstein is a second-year macro concentration student. She is interning at the New York State Office of Mental Health in the Bureau of Programs and Policy Development. Rachel Robinson is a second-year MSW student, and her placement is with the Massey Assisted Living Residence with a rotation to Jewish Family Services of Northeastern New York. And Nicole Gardy, who is also a second-year MSW student, and her placement is at the Alzheimer's Association of Albany. So welcome to the Social Workers.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
We're happy to be here.
So we're going to start off, and Linda, maybe you can talk a little bit about why do we have the IAP program? I know it's its 20th anniversary this year, so talk a little bit about how it started and why it's an important program that has lasted for so long.
Sure. So the Internships in Aging project was started as a grant from the John A. Hartford Foundation, and our first class started in the year 2000. There was a little bit of a planning grant beforehand. But the John A. Hartford Foundation has as its mission to improve the quality of care for older adults, and they do a lot of trainings with doctors and nurses. And this time it was starting to look at social workers. And the reason why they have these programs is there is a real shortage of professionals who are trained in working with older adults. That includes doctors and nurses and social workers and others, physical therapists, direct care staff. There just aren't enough people to serve the aging population, which is really growing these days. So I think there's a couple things that happen. There's more older people, but there's also some ideas that people have about what it's like to work with older people and see it as perhaps all about death or very depressing or what have you. So that's one of the reasons why we have the IAP program, the Internships in Aging, is to give people a taste of what working with older people could be like, because there are so many different experiences that are possible in working with older people. It's not necessarily about end of life.
So I want to turn it over to our students, and I have not met you all because everything's pretty much virtual, but I want to thank you for having this virtual radio show recording. And I want you to talk a little bit about your internships. Let's start off with, why should students even consider a career working with the aging? I mean, you're all in the IAP program. You got accepted. You applied and got accepted into this program. So can one of you start off by, sort of saying why people should have a career in the aging?
I was just going to say, it's not what you expect. It's not always what you expect. So Linda mentioned that you can come in with these preconceived ideas, these preconceived notions of what it's like to work with an aging population and with their families. And you learn that your thoughts, your preconceived notions are not always entirely accurate. And you can learn from these people and from these families.
That's a really great overview. Anyone else? Go ahead, Meredith.
Yeah, I just want to also kind of, to what Linda was saying, is that aging populations are growing pretty rapidly. And I think for me, it's just aging is something that hopefully we're all going to do. And I think putting things in place for aging populations is really important. And it's important to consider, sooner rather than later. And I think this is just a really nice opportunity to get your feet wet in that world.
So switching a little bit to what brought you to your program. I mean, when I was a social work student, I had a passion to work with youth in the school setting. That's what I was interested in. And it seems like when we come into the program, we either have an idea of what we know we want to do, but sometimes that shifts as we start to do our coursework, as we start to do our first internship, and our desire of where the populations we want to work changes. So maybe, Nicole, you can start off about what brought you into the IAP program.
Yeah, so
I actually thought about working with teenagers and even younger kids at first when I started in the Bachelor's of Social Work program at UAlbany. And then we got into grad school, and Rachel actually suggested looking into the IAP program, and my whole perspective changed. I've worked in a retirement community for 6 years, and I loved them, but I didn't know if that was going to be my career path, but I for sure know it is after being in IAP.
Anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I can add. So my background is completely in youth work. So the way that I got into it was another friend she was taking a clinical position in the IAP program and was kind of pestering me, and I was just like, I don't know, I've never considered it. And I, after lots of pestering, gave it big consideration and was just like, this is experience that I don't have, and I do think it's important. And to me, like, what a better way to use my time and my education to learn something new. And I like IAP because there's just a lot of support built in, which is really nice.
You have a very strong alumni community that's involved. I know a lot of the field instructors are former IAP alums, or former IAP students, I should say. So yeah, there is a really strong community within IAP for those who have been in the program the past 20 years. Rachel, did you have anything to add about what brought you to the IAP program?
Yeah, I've known I wanted to do the IAP program for several years now. Actually, my background is in geriatrics. I did my undergraduate studies in gerontology studies and worked in skilled nursing units post-grad. So when I was looking at social work programs and found UAlbany's IAP program on the website and read through the specializations and read through the support that's built in, like Meredith mentioned, I realized there really is no other program, at least in the SUNY system, that I was able to find that provided the tailored experience in geriatric social work, which is what I tailored my entire undergraduate studies for. So I wanted to do this from the beginning of my social work journey.
And you mentioned that this program has tailored that type of experience where you're really learning and being immersed in that field of working with the aging population. So you're all doing internships right now at different placements. Some are more macro focused, some are more micro focused, and you're doing somewhat of a rotation too to get that full experience with different settings. So maybe Meredith, you could start off about where you're interning and what are you learning right now?
Sure. So I'm a macro student, and I'm with the New York State Office of Mental Health. As you mentioned, I'm in the Program and Policy Bureau. And some of the things that we're doing right now, the focus is mainly on housing. So it's long-term care and community housing and transitioning people from institutional housing into community housing, how you integrate peer support. So it's a lot of cross-organizational work, which is really interesting to me. It's just kind of like a view that I haven't experienced before. So we do a lot of work with different nursing services, different psych centers, different field offices of OMH around the state, which is really, really cool.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Nicole, how about you?
Yeah, I'm at the Alzheimer's Association with rotation at Community Caregivers. And they're both really focused on education, outreach, and just trying to help older adults in the community. I actually am starting a support group at the Alzheimer's Association and with community caregivers. So I'll be doing two different separate ones about reducing isolation and just promoting communication and socialization skills. So yeah.
Very important work. And Rachel, want to finish up about what you're doing at your internship?
I'd love to. So I'm placed with the Masry Assisted Living Residents, very clinically focused, where I'm on the floor getting to know a caseload of residents and helping them set goals and then doing the work to achieve those goals. And then my rotation with Jewish Family Service is a little bit more macro focused. It's a little bit more community building, a little bit more community support. I ran at least one session of a support group for communication and connection in this weird post-COVID virtual time. And then, we're also working on making sure that seniors that have aged in place have all of the resources that they need to survive in their homes isolated. So making sure that there is food security, making sure that there is social work and social support to get, those instrumental tasks done and done safely.
And all three of you mentioned the rotation, and that is not something that every MSW student gets to do. It's specific to the IAP program, where you have sort of 2 internships that you're doing, and you also have a seminar. So can one of you, whoever feels wants to take this one, what are some of the benefits of participating in IAP? Because it's different than just being in a second-year student at the University at Albany School of Social Welfare.
I can start. So I think as a macro student, when the process of second-year internships started, you're just met with a lot less opportunity. So part of what really drew me in, like I said before, was just the support that's there. And I think for me, I really enjoyed the seminar aspect of first year. I just really like that place to process. And I was a little like, oh, I can't believe you're going to lose this in the second year. So I think that's a really important part of it. And it's also helpful because you are tacking on an extra day and like an extra internship within an internship. So it's just a lot to balance and focus on, and to have your little cohort within your larger cohort where you get to meet every other week and just sort of connect, especially now that things are kind of virtual, not virtual for other people. So to just talk through all of that experience, I think it's really important to have that support now more than ever. It just feels like you're a little less out in the void alone. So I really appreciate it and enjoy that aspect of it.
Does anyone else have anything to add about what the benefit of IAP is for maybe prospective students or for people who just want to know a little bit more about the program? Rachel?
Yeah, it's a broad overview. I mean, it's very specialized, but you get your fingers in every little pot. Like you can do a little bit of clinical, you can do a little bit of macro, you can do anything that you can to tailor your social work experience with geriatrics to make it more well-rounded.
And one thing that Meredith mentioned before was that extra day of field compared to the regular second-year student. And with that comes a stipend because you are in field another day. And that is why there is fundraisers for the IAP program, because it supports a student scholarship, a student stipend. So I'm not sure if Linda or a student would like to talk about this, but the benefits of this stipend and how people can support the IAP program.
Do one of you guys want to talk about why it's important to you to have the stipend?
Nicole, yes. Start off, Nicole.
Yeah. So grad school, as we know, is expensive. So having the opportunity to even get a stipend would be intriguing. And it's just kind of a really helpful thing that the IAP program does for you. And everyone's is different. So some people might get paid and some people might get a scholarship. And I personally got a scholarship, and I know it's really helped me get through grad school.
Well, especially scholarships are always critical, but especially during this time where everything is a little bit upside down, the scholarships for education and for students to continue their education during this time is critical. Anyone else want to talk about that stipend piece and how this scholarship has been helpful to you?
It's helpful for me because it's allowed me to step back from some of my other work, which is just not related to social work or anything like that, which I've always needed to do to support myself through life and particularly in my education. So to have the stipend has been nice because it's just providing me an opportunity to focus on school and internship and not really have to be like, oh, and then I have to go to work and do this for however many hours. So it's just a really different experience for me. I haven't ever just been able to focus on my education solely. So I really appreciate that part of it.
Rachel, did you have anything you wanted to add?
My circumstances are different than others. Grad school, yes, is very expensive. And I am so grateful for the scholarship I received, because now I can focus on, future once I'm out of school. What is my next step going to be? How will I support myself? Because the addition of the scholarship allows me to be able to do that in the future.
Well, I'm so glad that you all found IAP and were able to apply and get accepted into this program, but it's really making a difference. What we've seen through this pandemic is that there really needs to be more support and resources for our aging population. And I'm so glad that you guys have decided to dedicate your career to working with this population, because it's such an important population and there is a need. So Linda, maybe you could just jump in to talk a little bit about how we can support the IAP program and what should we expect in this 20th anniversary year?
Sure. So our stipends come from a variety of sources. We do have some wonderful gifts from an endowed scholarship from a foundation and also from some local supporters. And we also ask our agencies to contribute to support their students. But a lot of our agencies that provide direct services to older adults, especially older adults who are, more underserved or of low income, the agencies just don't have the money to help with student stipends as well. So that's where our fundraising comes in. And usually we do some kind of in-person fundraisers. We've done all kinds of, games and selling T-shirts and all kinds of fun things. But this year has been a little different, as everyone knows. So we are having a virtual fundraiser. It's a little bit more, it's just, we're asking for donations and trying to spread the word. You can find us at www.albany.edu/unite/IAP. I think if you just put albany.edu and Unite IAP in your search bar, you'd probably come find us. But we would love any contributions. I think, sometimes people get intimidated feeling like I don't really have money to give. We are happy if people give us a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. The more people who support us, the better. And it does go right. It does not go, the university has been very kind in terms of providing the operational support for the program. So any money that we raise goes right to scholarships.
And Linda, if anyone is interested in learning more about the IAP program or a possible donor who wants to reach out to you and find out a little bit more about the program, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Absolutely. These days it's all email because we're not in the office except for today. lmertz@albany.edu is my email address, and I would love to hear from anybody or students who are interested in the program. Again, if you got to the UAlbany website and put in SSW and IAP, you would also probably find a small amount of information on the School of Social Welfare page.
Thank you so much. And I want to just say thank you to our students for coming on today and talking about the IAP program. Is there anything that any of you would like to add to a prospective student, to a donor, to someone who maybe is just working in the aging field and really likes that there are students who are wanting to dedicate their career? Is there anything you'd like to leave, a final message?
I was going to say, my shtick always for students is you got to remember, older people are people who got older, right? Working with older people is a lot like working with all different kinds of other populations. So if you are really interested in substance abuse, we have older adults who have substance abuse issues. If you're interested in working with families, oh my gosh, there's a lot of family work that happens when you're working with older people. Mental health issues, yep, got them too. So, whatever area that you're interested in working with, there's usually some kind of intersection with aging, and it's worth exploring and knowing about because every single service sector needs more aging knowledge. So if you're working with developmental disabilities, they need more information about what does it mean to get older and how can we support people better and improve their quality of life. Okay, that's my shtick. I'll stop.
And let's jump to our students. Meredith, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I touched on earlier, just to any students who are out there, like don't box yourself in and use your time in school as an opportunity to explore other arenas. Because it's fun and it's worth it, and it's good to have well-rounded experience.
Anyone else? Nicole.
Yeah, I was just going to say I completely agree with Meredith. It's so worth it, and you just got to be flexible. As we all know in social work, you just got to be flexible, keep an open mind, and branch out.
And Rachel, do you want to finish off?
Sure. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do when you go into social work. You can explore through research, through classes, through internship projects, because there are those as well. And you may find, like everybody else has said, that this is interesting and this is new and you can learn something new from it. So learn something new if you can.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming on today and sharing your experience with the IAP program. And I want to say congratulations to Linda, 20 years that the IAP program has been in existence. So happy 20th anniversary to the Internships in Aging project. Like Linda had said, and our students have said, these scholarships are very important. So if you would like to make a donation, please visit Linda, say it one more time.
It's the Unite page, the albany.edu Unite, and then /IAP, IAP. Yeah. And thank you for having us, Alyssa.
No, this is really great. We'd love to highlight student experiences and programs that benefit our students on the radio show. So again, today we were joined with Linda Mertz, who is the program director of the Internships in Aging project, and second-year MSW students Meredith Goldstein, Rachel Robinson, and Nicole Gardy. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.